My name's Jim Black. I'm from Humble, Texas, and my family's been victims of family court corruption. My daughter caught a case in 2008. Actually, her son's dad was reported by the school for under mandatory reporting because my grandson had a meltdown at school. He has some sort of relationship with the Humble PD CPS liaison officer, and they flipped the case over and put it on to Mama instead of Daddy. He was found as, even though it's documented in their documentation that Mother played no role, the case closed, reason to believe, against Mother. A month later, Humble PD framed her boyfriend in a family violence situation, created a second CPS case based on that situation. When you look at the two investigations side by side, they're nothing but copy and paste, exact two investigations. In fact, the first investigation, they claim they interviewed my granddaughter the day before the incident that created the case, 4 days before CPS even got the case. They didn't pull CPS history on the first case until 39 days into the case. The second case, even though it is family violence, they started the case out, opened the case talking about, they described the dad's abuse in the first case in the family violence case, the first paragraph. And first contact is the exact same date as it is in the first one a month earlier. They did 5 interviews in the course of these 2 investigations. Only the date and the hour changed as to the time of the interviews. The minutes for 5 interviews are exactly the same for 5 different people a month apart, which is statistically almost impossible. They claim that because of another situation, my grandkids didn't go to the same school. When they interviewed my granddaughter, the actual interview, they wrote the name of the school she attended. But they put it into the investigation that she was enrolled at the school that reported the abuse, but they interviewed her at the school she actually attended. Well, if they had actually interviewed her at that school, they would have known she wasn't enrolled at the other school. Plus, the second case, CPS didn't get the case until 3 days after school let out for summer vacation, making it virtually impossible to interview a child at school. As a result of these cases, it took them 8 months to get their hands on the children. The CPS caseworker offered to help pay a light bill, then kept the light bill until the lights got turned off in the apartment. And when the oldest child was at his dad's for summer vacation, then came and picked up my younger 2 children. The police officer that has some sort of relationship with the dad came out, and we have her testimony saying that the DA told her that there was no possible way for her to enter the apartment. She raised a window and allowed an apartment maintenance man to climb through the window to gain access to the children, and they removed the children. They kept my eldest grandson in basically virtual siege for 6 months and split the kids into two separate cases. And basically, as a result, we had two separate trials. We found out in the first trial some stuff, but it wasn't clear, the evidence that I was reading. For one, because of my background in manufacturing engineer, I used to do a lot of work that had to do with kind of like corporate geology, or it's hard to describe, but I studied companies and then applied them. My daughter insisted that the attorney allow me to get a copy of the discovery. And in that process, I studied and started breaking down the mechanics of how they misuse the system. Because of Texas CPS handbook being 100% online, I can actually go in and actually figure out how they misuse the system, when they bypass laws, and how they will falsify evidence to create a situation where they can bypass a law. And that's part of where Angel Eyes Over Texas came from. We started helping people to figure out the laws, point them in the right direction. A family will call us and we will look over what they do, what their situation is. I will look it up in the handbook and point them to where, I'll give them the links and stuff to where they can find their own information, pass it on to their attorneys. And over the course of the last 2 years, we've assisted about 10 families in successfully negotiating their way through the system. That's with me and 3 other workers working online on Facebook, simply sitting at our desk and assisting people that way. A very simple method that we've worked with. I'm also associated with another group called Freedom Fighters for Families. And we happen to have had a 9/11 march on Region 6 CPS headquarters on 2525 Malworth. We did a 1 mile march on 9/11 and had about 35 people that attended that and stood out there and had a pretty good day. Caught a lot of attention, and over the course of things, we think we're beginning to make some changes. Attorneys that I talked to, we also, for a while, was doing a protest every other month that we call Eyes on CPS. Consequently, about a year ago, Texas changed up their juvenile system. And because CPS and the juvenile system is so intertwined, it caused massive changes to the CPS handbook. When those changes started coming down, we started having our Eyes on CPS protest every other month, and basically letting it be known that we know it's changing and we're keeping an eye on you. And feedback from the attorneys, they said that some of the judges, it's beginning to make a difference in the juvenile court building. Here in Houston, CPS cases are heard in 3 different courthouses: the Juvenile Law Center, the Family Law Center, and there's 3 courts in the civil courthouse. So, but they're all surrounded by 1 block. And basically, we're just trying to let people be known that the system is broken. I view the problems with them, looking at it from a manufacturing point of view, they have a major quality control problem. And I've even talked with some of our state representatives about applying either Sigma 6 or total quality management techniques to CPS. With the shorthanded and high turnover, right here in Texas, on average, CPS normally operates at about 88% capacity. They have a 37% turnover in personnel. Special investigators, which are ex-cops that become investigators, that 37% jumps up to about 60%. I feel that it's because they took an oath to stand behind the Constitution. They can't bring themselves to operate in the manner that CPS operates. I don't know if you've been following the situation in Abilene this past couple of weeks. On August 28th, a child was found at Dyer's Air Force Base, unresponsive. She died en route to the hospital. The caseworker that was in charge of that case, this was the third case that had been issued against this family. And the mother in this particular situation had left, this was a 22-month-old child, had left a 3-year-old, the 22-month-old, and a 6-month-old unattended for who knows how many days. They were very dilapidated, and the one child did die. The caseworker on this case closed the case 6 days before the child died. It had been 11 months since she had checked on the child. Then, when Abilene PD started working the case, supervisors started covering up. And last Friday, Texas laid off the top 3 supervisors in that district on administrative leave for failing to cooperate with police. Since I've been here this afternoon, I found out a 4th one was laid off today. So in the course of things, I think Texas is beginning to turn around. I often refer people to look at the Texas handbook because it is online, learn the terminology from our handbook, then use that terminology in their own state, and quite often it allows them to find information about their state that they normally wouldn't find. I've assisted people in just about every state in the Union at one point or another. If I get referrals all the time asking for just basic information, and I try and research it and put them on the right path if possible. That's basically where we get the angel eyes from. The Lord blessed me with excellent research skills, and we apply it the best way we can. Thank you.